Well, yes and no. It was part of a maneuvering package scheme series of transactions last winter. Just a whole bunch of things happened at once. In order for the Dodgers to make the Jimmy Rollins deal happen, they had to give the Phillies a couple of pitching prospects, one of which they got from the Padres in a trade that sent Matt Kemp and brought them Yasmani Grandal and cleared center field for Jock Peterson. And really, out of all those transactions, the only one that hasn't gone the way the Dodgers hoped was Jimmy Rollins. But it was all part of it. They're in first place. He's played a pretty decent shortstop defensively, so they're not really sweating it right now.
You know, is it here with Chase Utley, you're just looking at a guy who's kind of broken down, and it's just been a sad situation here. Has it been a tough spot for Jimmy? I mean, is it becoming a contentious situation where it seems like his playing time is getting cut back a little bit?
Well, it doesn't seem like it. It is. I asked Jimmy a couple weeks ago about what has become a platoon, and he wouldn't even use the word in discussing it. But the Dodgers are not playing him against left-handers, not necessarily because he's any worse against left-handers than right-handers, but because the guy they play as a backup shortstop hits right-handed. So Jimmy's days off are going to come against left-handers. I don't think it probably thrilled him that when the Phillies came to town and he got to catch up with his old mates for the first time, he was at the bottom of the order instead of the top when he was the leadoff hitter at the start of the season. But again, the Dodgers like what he's doing in the clubhouse. They think he's okay on defense, and they're in first place, so they're not really in any hurry to go change that up right now.
Yeah, that was one of the things here that was always perceived from Jimmy, that when things were good, but when things weren't so good, it kind of got contentious at times. He always wanted to hit leadoff, and he didn't seem like he was the best choice for leadoff towards the end here, and it sounds like that's something that's going on out there. How about him defensively? Has he slipped at all? Because even when he wasn't hitting, he was always able to man the position at an elite level.
He's been okay. I mean, clearly he's not defensively the player he was 10 years ago, but that's pretty much true of everybody. If the Dodgers had an elite defensive shortstop to replace him with, maybe this would be an issue. They really don't. They've got utility infielders backing up guys like Enrique Hernandez and Justin Turner. And I think, as everybody who follows baseball closely knows, the Dodgers' top prospect, and in fact Baseball America's number one prospect right now in all the minor leagues, is a shortstop. It's the Dodgers' AAA shortstop, Corey Seager. But he's 21 years old. The Dodgers don't feel compelled to bring him up in the way that the Astros did when they brought up their stud shortstop prospect, Carlos Correa. The Astros shortstop was hurt, Jed Lowry. The Dodgers shortstop, Jimmy Rollins, is not. And again, they're in first place with him, so they can't say that he's stopping them from winning the division.
Yeah, and Bill Shaikin's with us from the LA Times. We're talking about the Dodgers and the Phillies, Jimmy Rollins, obviously. Now, Rollins had come out the other night, and I don't know if it's just because the Phillies are in town, but he kind of indicated that he wouldn't be upset if Cole Hamels joined them out there. We've heard his name mentioned with the Dodgers. They obviously would be looking for some pitching. Is Hamels a realistic get for the Dodgers?
Yeah, when I asked Jimmy about that the other day, because he had talked about all his old teammates he had texted with, and I said, well, we talked to Cole about playing here, and he smiled. He said, maybe. Yeah, he'd be perfect. The Dodgers have Clayton Kershaw, Zach Greinke, Brett Anderson, who's pitched well, notwithstanding last night's game, but has a history of injury trouble, and basically two vacancies in their rotation. So if they got to the playoffs, and they certainly plan on doing that, they don't know who would start game number 3. Hamels would be perfect, obviously, but as you know better than we do out here in L.A., Hamels has been available for probably a year, maybe more, and the Phillies haven't made a trade. So, I don't know that that's just the Dodgers doing. The Dodgers made very clear last year that while they wanted Hamels, Jock Peterson wasn't coming, Corey Seager wasn't coming, and Julio Urias, the Dodgers' top pitching prospect, wasn't coming. And they understood that if the Phillies were going to trade a guy like Cole Hamels, who unlike Jimmy Rollins or Ryan Howard is in the prime of his career, that they got to get somebody good back. And the Phillies didn't want to be able to stand up and say, hey, we got another team's fourth best prospect. We'll see how that plays out down the road. What I can say is that the Dodgers have beefed up their minor league system since last summer to the point where they could make a really nice trade and replenish their minor league system without any of the three guys that the Dodgers talked about last year. But then it goes to, again, are you willing to face your public in Philly and say, we didn't get one of their top three guys?
Yeah, I was going to ask that follow-up. You know, you mentioned Seager and Jock, obviously two guys that I would assume the Phillies had been asking for. Do the Dodgers, if they don't or unwilling to give up those pieces, do they have pieces that would be attractive to the Phillies that aren't their top two prospects? Well, I guess Jock's not a prospect at this point. He's been a pretty good player in the lineup.
Yeah, he made the All-Star team, so I guess he's past the prospect stage.
Yeah.
But the Phillies would have to be the ones to judge that for themselves, and I don't mean this as some sort of funny line, but I'm not Ruben Amaro. What I would say is that there's certainly pitching prospects to be had. Grant Holmes is a highly regarded prospect. Jose De Leon, who is in Baseball America's midseason top 20, would be a great get for the Phillies. Probably a guy who could step in right away, actually, because he'd be jumping from Double-A, and given some of the pitchers the Phillies have thrown over the last couple of months, you might as well get the young kids out there.
You're not impressed with Sean O'Sullivan and Jerome Williams and Kevin Correa and Chad Billingsley?
If you're rebuilding, then let's rebuild.
Maybe you are better than Ruben Amaro Jr. Then.
Well, I don't answer to ownership, so it's a lot easier for me. But there are pieces certainly to get. There's an outfielder, Scott Schebler, who's pretty good. There's an infielder who steals a ton of bases, Darnell Sweeney, a middle infielder who could be a good get. Again, I don't know what the other teams are going to be able to offer for Cole Hamels, and of course the other end of the equation is, are the Phillies going to pay off any of Hamels' contract? And not to say that they should or they have to, but clearly the more that they're willing to absorb of Cole's contract, the better quality prospects they can get back. And that's, again, only a decision that Ruben and Pat Gillick and now Andy MacPhail would make.
Yeah, that makes it interesting with Andy in the process. Bill Shaikin from the LA Times looking at the Phillies and the Dodgers, and obviously to see if they're a match with Cole Hamels, who obviously the Phillies have a lot of pieces here that teams are going to call for. Are the Dodgers looking for other things other than just starting pitching?
That's their number one thing right now. I mean, they would like to get some help in the bullpen, but they're set at closer. Kenley Jansen is one of the best closers in baseball, so I don't think they'd want to bring in Jonathan Papelbon to pitch the seventh or eighth inning, and I don't know that Jonathan would necessarily want to do that if he could close somewhere else.
Yeah.
As far as other pieces, I don't know that there's really a fit right there.
Yeah. I know, obviously, Chase Utley being a guy from California, I don't know that he has any value at this point. He's kind of broken down, and I don't know that would the Dodgers be looking to add a veteran piece like that, or is the Rollins thing kind of would back them out of something like that?
I don't think Rollins has any impact, but when the general manager comes out and says Cesar Hernandez is a better second baseman, that doesn't really compel general managers of other teams to line up and rush to their phones to get Chase Utley.
Yeah, and obviously hitting 179. I don't know how many people need a 179 hitter in the lineup at this point. Dodgers and Phillies tonight. It's Clayton Kershaw going for the Dodgers, and of course Adam Morgan pitches for the Phillies tonight. And that game 10:10 Eastern time as the Phillies and the Dodgers in a 4-game set, game number 3 tonight. Bill, we do appreciate a couple minutes of your time. Great stuff.
All right, thank you.